Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Got a Case of Wanderlust podcast. I'm your host, Lydia. Today, I'm with a very special guest. This is my last episode I'm recording before my next big departure, my next adventure. And it's kind of full circle, I was saying, because this special guest is someone I met on my first trip to Hawaii in 2022. It was in May, I believe. And we met super randomly at the beach, from what I believe. And we just started chatting at the bus stop. And ever since then, I kind of just had this contact. And I'm so happy to reach out and reconnect today and dive back into kind of where we left off from last time. And yeah, so a warm welcome to the show, Celeste.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here. I feel like we have so much to talk about, but let's just start from the beginning. What sparked your wanderlust or your desire to travel and explore new places?
Well, mm, growing up, I've always told everyone that I was going to travel the world without so much of a plan or like a way of motion of actually getting there. I just knew from a young age I I want to see the world. It's always been on my goal list and my life plan, and so um, my form of travel has been more so up into the past few years of just moving a lot. And I realized that moving somewhere and living there for a while really gave me the kind of integration that I desired. And I didn't so much see the the international world as much as the different towns in my city and the different cities in my state and the different states in my country. Um, and I don't know if I've told you this, but before high school, I lived in 30, or no, before high school, I moved to 12 different schools. And so I've always been accustomed to this fast pace, ever changing dynamic with my living situation. And I've kind of carried that over into my adulthood. And am just, as I get older, spreading my wings wider and wider.
That's beautiful. You sound exactly like me. For the longest time, since before I can even consciously remember, I had this dream of travel, and I think it's so beautiful. You've been able to kind of manifest some of those dreams, including living in Hawaii for some time. I know you were there for 5 years, you mentioned,
Yeah.
on the Big Island, also known as Hawaii Island. So, what inspired you to go there specifically?
Well, growing up, I've always had family in Hawaii who were born and raised there, and I was always jealous of them. And I would look at their pictures, I would look at my local cousins and aunties and uncles who would go stay with their family, and I would look at their photo albums when they got back, and I would be a little enraged inside. I would on the outside be happy for them, but on the inside be I want to go there, I want to live there. And even in school, when my friends would come back from summer vacation and post that they went with their boyfriend or whatever, I would just have this inner a little bit of anger. And so I decided my senior year of high school I was going to go stay with an auntie and work at her shop, and something ended up happening to where I had to go to school earlier. And then that kind of became a pattern in my life where every summer I was okay, this is going to be the summer I'm going to go to Oahu, and then something would happen, a bigger opportunity would present itself and I wouldn't make it. And so my senior year of my 4-year college, I had kind of been in a whirlwind all over the place, and I went from going to school in North County, San Diego, and that turned into online because of the pandemic, and moving to Mexico with my grandparents. And when my time in Mexico kind of started coming to an end, my grandparents kind of hinting all right, what's the next move? I had it in my heart of I either want to go to New York or go to Hawaii, but I don't know. These are polar opposite places for me. I don't know where exactly I'm being pulled to. So I'm going to go where I feel most safe and in this moment, and that was San Diego for me. And so I moved to San Diego in the middle, I'd say, of 2020, and I didn't have much of a savings, so I decided to do what you're doing now and work trade at a hostel. And at the time, I had no idea what a hostel was, but I found this place online. It was like the cheapest to rent in the city. And I got a room at, it was called International Travelers Hostel, ITH. They have like 5 different branches in Southern California. And that place was really cool because I was actually one of the only Americans. They didn't allow guests to stay unless they had a foreign ID. And since I had just come from living in Mexico, I qualified as like a foreigner, and I got through the cracks and asked them if I could work trade there, and ended up spending 6 months. And in my time there, I met 3 other friends who I like immediately gravitated towards, and we just felt like little kids who like wanted to do everything together all the time. And I hadn't shared with anyone like my plans, my motives to move on soon, or like my teeter-totter between New York and Hawaii. But 2 of the people in the group of 4 that I'd become a part of, like family, already had tickets to Big Island. And I just thought that was like such a synchronistic little totem from the universe that I was like, you know what, that's it. That's where I'm going. That sells me enough to know that like I'll be in a new place, but I'll have such a good support system. I'm going to go with you guys. So I finished off my school in Hawaii, and one of the girls who had her ticket ended up like veering off the path and going her own route. But one of the guys still went 2 weeks prior to me, and I got to start my initiation into Big Island with him, and that was kind of my introduction. And he actually booked the first place that I stayed, which was on Kalapana Road, a big hostel right on the lava that was like very fort-like, and that started my journey there.
I absolutely love that story, kind of how it all pieced together. It's beautiful, and it's so funny because I had the same dilemma. So I do dream of living in New York one day. Not for now, because girl, that takes a lot of money, and I know Hawaii is expensive as well, but I feel like there's something about the islands where, like you said, it does make you feel like safe, like things will work out. And New York is like cutthroat, like girl, if you don't have it together, like it will spit you out, like not really somewhere you can move to on a whim as much. So definitely in the future I would love to go to New York City as well. And but I kind of had a similar like synchronistic moment that made me realize, okay, yeah, Hawaii is like where I need to go to next, because I had just I'd been finishing my year teaching English in Madrid, and I didn't know where to go after. I knew I didn't want to return back home, which is Chicago, because I just feel like I'd grown so much being somewhere new that I wanted to continue that process of just growing and expanding as a 22-year-old. I don't know, how old were you when you did this move?
I had just turned 22, actually.
Okay.
It was March 28th, and I moved the first week of April.
Okay, that's crazy. Okay, so yeah, I just feel like when you're young, like, you just need to do these things, because now is truly the time. But anyway, so I was looking for signs, kind of, indications of where I should go next, and I'd been always had in the back of my mind to do a work exchange in Hawaii ever since I visited my first time staying in a hostel. I just fell in love with the serenity and just like the magic of being so close to Mother Nature, and the people are just, everyone was so friendly. I just had a really, really good experience. I'd never felt so at peace in my entire life. So had it in my mind to do a work exchange in Hawaii. Didn't know exactly when, but what kind of like pieced it together was, it sounds like kind of crazy, like silly, but this boy showed up to school in a t-shirt, and I'd never see him wear it ever before, but I was literally like applying to work exchanges in Hawaii, and I saw him with this shirt, and it said like Hawaii, like on his t-shirt.
Oh,
And it was just like a picture of a flower or something, but it said Hawaii, and he had like literally never worn that shirt in the whole entire year. No child in the entire school ever made reference to Hawaii.
mm.
And
And it gave
so,
you like all these warm feelings inside.
yeah, and so I was just like, wow, okay, okay, universe, like, I see you. This is where I think I need to go. And last night, so, okay, I'm getting on such a tangent.
Go.
This is such a free flowing conversation, but so last night I was like, okay, so I'm going to Hawaii. I'm flying to Honolulu on 5/20, or what's the date? 8/22,
Mm.
2025. And I first visited to Hawaii in 05/2022. So I don't know. For me, numerology, like numbers, I just
Mhm.
love making those connections. So it just seems like very full circle for me to visit in on the 22nd of 2025, and the last time, or the reason I want to go was my first trip in 05/2022.
Oh, you
Oh my
feel
god, do you think I'm crazy?
No, no, I think it's like these little things give you confirmation, and um, like seeing a shirt from Hawaii can mean whatever to anyone, but it's the feelings that are brought up inside of you that, urge your body to go in which direction. I think it's beautiful.
Okay, thank you for that confirmation. But yeah, so I'm flying there Friday. But anyway, we were just talking about like your experience there and kind of like just the whole process of settling in and like creating kind of a temporary home there. So, what was your like first impressions? Like, let's go back to that moment, like first time landing on on Big Island, and what was like going through your mind at the time?
Yeah, on the airplane, I just remember thinking that there was a plan and now the plan has been diverted, and I'm in free fall motion, and I'm just gonna keep goodwill in my heart and pray for the best and see where this takes me. And I had no job lined up for me. I had no long-term housing set up for me anymore, and I was willing and able to stay there as long as Pele so allowed me. Pele being like the goddess of the volcano and the overall spirit that resides on Big Island. I just surrendered to what could happen and was open to staying long term or a few weeks and just kind of see where the current took me.
Mm, that's like basically my mindset now. Like free falling, but like trusting that things will work out. Um, were you at all like nervous about like the prospect of staying somewhere longer term since you had always been moving around like growing up, or was that something you were looking forward to, like establishing somewhere longer term?
I thought once I got settled in a little bit, I thought, I love it here. This is going to be the place I set down roots, especially given the like very small town village nature of like the community. Um, it being such a small place, everyone getting to know each other and going to the grocery store and giving hugs and not being able to like really leave the house without seeing someone you know. I thought this is such a dichotomy from what I've been born and raised in, and something that I didn't even realize I was like needing in my life. I'd love to set roots here. And I maintain the aspect that like I want to see the world, but this is where I always want to come back home to. But that's not really what Pele had planned for me, because in my 5 years there, I think I lived in like 9 different homes. And it wasn't until the very end that I found a forever home that I got called back to the mainland. And it, it felt conflicting because I, I found myself fighting for stability and fighting for long term and safety. And these homes would present themselves so temporarily that, like I said, I just had to like surrender to the current and go where life took me at times.
Mm. Do you feel like you always had this mindset of going with the current, or is this something that Hawaii taught you?
I grew up in quite a chaotic upbringing, and like I said before, like moving 12 times before high school, it kind of became my norm and something that I outwardly rejected, but inwardly, like subconsciously, was kind of maintaining the chaos. Like the chaos became my norm in a way. Um, when you grow up in like a wild environment, all of the outside noise kind of becomes soothing.
So what would be the greatest lesson you think that living in Hawaii taught you, if you could sum it up?
I feel like I live lifetimes, and it's hard to pinpoint one
I'm
is
sure.
greater. But I'll give one big lesson was um, the ability to create your own family with those around you, um, to really tend and nurture the connections that are made organically. And yeah, I think throughout moving a lot, I've met a lot of people, but it was hard for me to maintain connections and feel really actually close to people. And I I adopted a little bit of like an orphan mindset in one specific year of living on Big Island, and really had to come to the realization that these people who are my friends, who, you know, I just met randomly in my 20s, have really become my hanai, which is a Hawaiian word that means like your adopted family. You'll hear people say like my hanai auntie or my hanai uncle, and this is just like we are not blood related, but we have a greater bond.
That's so beautiful. I love that you're sharing these Hawaiian words with us because, I mean, for so long, and we'll get into the history of Hawaii, how the language was very oppressed and even made illegal to learn in the past, and is only recently coming to surface. So I love that you're kind of bringing it to life and spreading awareness about the Hawaiian culture. I think that's like something so meaningful and so important for us to do, not only as people living somewhere that we're only kind of visiting temporarily, but as travelers in general, visiting places and really getting to know the culture and like the true history. So along the way, did you feel like you learned everything you know now about Hawaii, or did you know the stuff before? Like, what was the process of learning about Hawaii?
I I still feel like I don't know enough, and I consistently do my due diligence of learning the history and seeking out the needs of the local native people. And before living on the islands, my conception of what the political forecast was, I was only receiving news from family members that I knew who had been born and raised. And so from their social media posts, I noticed that like their hatred towards telescopes on the Maunas and their distaste towards over tourism and their advocacy for keeping Hawaii Hawaiian and their advocacy for um, producing more of a like not producing more, but encouraging their fellow natives to shop local and to rely less on exports. There's this big idea that isn't practiced, but could be that Hawaiians could be completely self-sustainable if they all continued to shop local and garden and harvest more and create their own products. It doesn't have to be so reliant on these exports. And so that was my mindset going in was I really want to respect these customs and cultures and be open to learning. I love to learn, like to learn about the history and the overturn of the Hawaiian kingdom and how we can continue to support the land and Malama the Aina.
I think that's really, really crucial here. And for one, like, yeah, I think it's kind of something a lot of people don't think about, right? Like, when we visit somewhere new, it's like just about the excitement and kind of about our own experience about what we'll do, like what the destination will provide to us, and not the other way around. So I think it's really, really in like essential, like the mindset that you just mentioned. I'm curious because I know that there's a lot of talk about traveling to Hawaiian Islands ethically and kind of Native Hawaiians' perceptions of foreigners or outsiders. So, did you ever experience that towards yourself by locals or, yeah, anyone living in Hawaii?
Personally, I could speak on one experience that's standing out to me right now. I witnessed that was like a prime example of this like outcry from the locals to visitors who have decided that this is now their home, but without respecting the culture and the customs. So I went on a trip down south to South Point to trim some weed with a group of friends, and on our way home we decided to stop by this little spring that we had heard of to collect some water in our jugs and to just visit like a pretty little lagoon. And on our way in, I guess some of the friends I was with knew these people who were like dancing and jumping and seemed to be on like some kind of like psychedelic drugs in this area that was kapu. So to any visitors who have or plan to visit Hawaii, kapu is a very important word to know. If you see a sign generally in red, it means like do not go in there. It means like danger, stay away.
Kapu, Kapu.
Yes, and it's a big signifier that this is sacred ground and something ceremonious or sacred has happened here, and you are not welcome to enter the land. Well, these people were dancing on kapu land, and I didn't see the sign initially, but I also didn't really like want to interact with them. They were kind of like waving and like, "Hey, you guys," and they knew the people that I was with, and so we go in, and there's a party of, a big local family communing together. They have food, they have adults and children and like a tent on the beach, and they're having some kind of gathering, and they come up to us like very, very angry and very aggressive and calling my friends and I haoles, which is like the Olelo word for foreigner and breathless, essentially. And it's turned into a derogatory term at this point because we were then associated with these people who, pronounced to us, were dancing on their passed away relative's grave. That's like the worst thing, like most disrespectful thing I think you can do. And I don't know if they knew what they were doing or if they were just too high out of their minds to realize it, but we were met with the aggression. And one of the men I was with ran over to them to let them know, like, you need to stop now. And I was left to kind of like mediate and on the situation at the beach. These people just being so angry and overall hurt that someone would come into their home and like perform the highest form of disrespect to them in their time of grieving. It was just like really heartbreaking and hard to mediate, but I just had to present myself like so apologetically and so understanding, and let them know that like you are heard and we're putting a stop to this right now, and I am so sorry that this is happening. It's important for everyone to know, like, don't be a haole. Don't come into a place uneducated and just do willy-nilly things because you feel like it. Because this land is, in reality, an illegally occupied kingdom. And this kingdom's people are still alive and trying to thrive and trying to keep their culture growing. And I think the best thing that we can do as visitors is to initiate learning and to not embrace ignorance and to not use ignorance as an excuse, because it's our jobs as lifelong students to always seek the knowledge. And so I think the best thing we can do is, wherever we go, is to read and learn and reach out to the resources that we have to make sure that we're not going to step on anyone's toes and we're not going to cause any harm in the place that we visit.
Thank you so much for that. What would you say the from your perspective as someone who lived there for some time, what would you say that like ethical guidelines for visiting as a tourist to the islands, or like a visitor, without being part of the problem that Native Hawaiians are so actively speaking out against, like the tourism problems to their home?
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, the best thing we can do is to always seek the knowledge. Like I said, there's so many free resources to us. You can go to your local library, pick up a book, go online, watch some videos. I actually made some bullet points of key components that I always try to keep with me. The first one is malama the aina. Malama being to nurture, care for, and tend to. And aina being the land, the living, thriving ecosystem that you're a part of. And to malama the aina is to always put your work in. Before you go picking a fruit, make sure you did something to tend to the tree that produced the fruit for you. And there's so many ways you can do this, like volunteering at your local farm, finding a job that works with the land, creating a small garden wherever you are, and even offering to help lead a local farmer's plantation. Anything you can do, picking up trash off of the floor, advocating against pollution, these kinds of things. Eating local is a really big part of the testimony I was sharing earlier, of creating a more sustainable, symbiotic environment on these lands that so heavily rely on exports. Feeding your money into where you are is such a great thing you can do. Always keeping in mind of things like kapu, reading up on what people like to call the protocol of the places you visit. And what I like to do is to always bring offerings. If I know I'm going to go to a new beautiful place in nature, be it a waterfall or a beach or a mountain or valley, I try to gather as many ornamental flowers, vines, leaves, little rocks that I can share, especially if I've helped grow them myself, and create somewhat of a beautiful altar to present to the new land that I'm visiting, and do a little prayer and sit down and thank the earth for providing this beautiful place that we get to enjoy together. Whenever I enter a new body of water, I ask permission to the water. Is this okay that I enter you and commune with you and allow the crystallization that's about to happen through my body? I feel like entering the ocean and the lake or stream has always provided such a healing process throughout my entire body and spirit that it's good if I'm going to receive such a service to lay my hands and ask, is this okay? And wait for a sign or wait for a feeling inside that it is okay and you can enter with safety. And it kind of opens the door for a communication between you and the waterways. So maybe a strong current is going to come in and you get a little bit of a signal beforehand so you can make way for that and not get hurt. And the last thing I wrote down is, for Big Island specifically, is to acknowledge Pele and honor her and visit the lava if you can. I know she was erupting this past 2 months ago. And to just keep your eye out for the signals that she brings. A lot of people like to say that Pele will let you know if she likes you or not. She'll either like hug you like a warm hug, or she will like let you have the lava and kick you out need be if you're not coming with respect and if you're not coming with offerings and an open mind and open heart. I've witnessed her make way and put people in their place.
I think the undercurrent through all those beautiful practices and philosophies or thinkings behind your actions is like just mindfulness and like a deep respect for the land and your presence on the earth and like for other living beings. I think that's so beautiful. And I think if we approach with that mindset, it's really hard to do, like, it's hard to be a destructive or problematic force. And I think, like what we were saying earlier before we started recording, that's really what many Hawaiians are kind of hoping for, like when people visit the islands. Is it's not necessarily to not visit at all, because they are beautiful places that should be like appreciated by people, but at the same time doing so in like the least destructive manner as possible.
There was this saying that I heard someone exclaim at one point that I really love. It's, you're always going to be a haole, just don't be a fucking haole. So whether anyone decides to move to these islands and buy a home and live there for 20, 30 years, you will always be a visitor in this kingdom. And it's the difference between keeping that in mind and integrating yourself in a helpful, harmonious way and coming in destructive and needy and greedy and with the mindset of take and not give back, is the difference between being a haole and a fucking haole. So I think, it could be easier and harder for others to differentiate, but to just, like you said, carry mindfulness and educate yourself. And there is no victimhood in ignorance. We all have infinite resources at our disposal. And I think the most important thing that all of these people around the world want us to know when we're visiting their homes is to be kind and not destructive, and give when you can. And that will make receiving all the more fulfilling and beautiful when you know that you have given beforehand.
Yeah, it goes beyond just sustainability, which is just like making sure that you're not damaging what you're using. It's going into like regenerative and regenerativity, if I think that's a word, but making sure that what you take is not only damaging but also like replenishing what you take, so the cycle can continue and just move through that circular flow rather than the linear path that the Western world is kind of pursuing right now as far as consuming, literally and like figuratively. Is there anything else you want to share about Hawaii and like the treatment of the islands?
No, I don't think so. I think I just want to encourage any listeners to always do their research and always come to the places they visit with an open heart and an open mind, and keep their ear out for the outcries of the local people, and to respect everywhere we go, because at the end of the day, we are one people of one earth, and this is our home, so we should tend to it and take care of it and be kind to each other.
Yes, thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
So I always wrap up with 3 questions. The first one is, what is a place you're looking forward to traveling to in the future?
In April, I will be going to Italy for my 2-year anniversary, and I'm so excited. I'm working hard to save up as much money as I can, because I really want to cultivate a capsule wardrobe there and
Ooh,
get pieces that I'll have for a lifetime.
yes, that sounds amazing. And number 2, what is a special meal or a memorable meal you've had when traveling?
In Malaysia, I had the best laksa of my whole life, and it's like a coconut curry noodle based dish in this little place. It was actually, I went in not knowing that it was on the Michelin app thingy. It's not like, it doesn't have a Michelin star, but it's like the Michelin recommended mabobber. I could potentially find it and send it to you later, but I can't remember the name of it now. But it was chef kiss. I was on my way to a hike, and we decided to stop in, and I think about it to this day.
Ooh. What about Hawaii? If you could think of like one meal on the islands.
Poi. I shared with you before we started recording, but it's their most important, largest export, and I got to work with some of the families that harvest and nurture and produce and ship out to the mainland, and mainstream corporations like Costco. And it's basically a small root plant. It's a potato almost, but the way it's processed in the islands is it's grated against somewhat of like a bowl plate, almost like a mortar and pestle, but it has like thicker rice grain size grits to it, and it's grounded down into a paste and then fermented, and it turns out to be this like fermented purple mashed potato kind of consistency, and it's definitely like an acquired taste. Kids start off hating it. It's like one of those things that like you have to eat, but once you grow into it, it's delicious, and it's a beautiful part of the culture. So I would recommend definitely trying it while you're there.
Ooh, I definitely will. Sounds super interesting. And then my last question is, what is a special place in your heart? We could do like specific to like a certain, spot or location.
A special place in my heart would be Waipio Valley. I see Waipio Valley as the Garden of Eden in my reality.
Wow. Okay, so it's like heaven on earth.
Yes.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Celeste. I really enjoyed hearing your wisdom, and I'm definitely going to apply your words to my future adventures on the islands. I'm really excited. And yeah, just grateful to have you as a resource and someone to talk to and someone to know.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for all your work you're doing, and thank you for continuing to explore and enjoying your travels and raising awareness. I love your newest series on neocolonization and being a voice for people who may not be educating themselves properly, or for who are seeking to educate themselves properly, and being such a good resource. Bless you in your travels, and let me know if you need anything while you're on Big Island.
Thank you so much for listening to the Got a Case of Wanderlust podcast. Again, my name is Lydia, and you can find me on social media in the About section of this podcast. Please rate and review if you found value or insight from this, and I hope to see you in the next episode.